Hello, friend. Welcome back to the garden. The sun is just starting to dip low, casting that beautiful, heavy golden light across the potting bench. Do you feel that? The air is finally cooling off. I have my favourite canvas apron on. My hands are already dusted with rich, dark potting soil, and I couldn't be happier. We're going to spend some time together today, building something truly beautiful. Take a deep breath of that sweet evening air, get comfortable, and let's just enjoy the peace of the garden. We have all been there. You walk into your local garden centre and you are surrounded by an absolute sea of beautiful, blooming plants. You want your front porch or your balcony to look like the cover of a glossy gardening magazine. So you start grabbing things. You buy a dozen different plants, bring them home, cram them into a pot, and it just looks like a messy salad. It's overwhelming, isn't it? It feels like you need a degree in landscape architecture to make it look right. But you don't. What if I told you there is a secret formula, a gentle horticultural blueprint used by master gardeners and nursery professionals all over the world? It guarantees a stunning, perfectly balanced container every single time. It takes all the stress out of designing, and the best part, it only takes 3 little words: thrill, fill, spill. By the end of our time together today, you will know exactly how to use this method to create your own living masterpieces, no matter how small your space might be. A container garden is really a tiny, isolated microcosm. It's a standalone piece of living art. To make it visually arresting, we have to guide the human eye. We have to give the eye a peak to look at, a body to rest on, and a baseline to ground it. That is what our 3 elements do. The thriller, filler, spiller concept actually revolutionized container gardening years ago because it took classical, intimidating design principles like height, mass, and grounding and turned them into a simple, beautiful recipe. Before we can get to the fun of designing, we have to lay a good foundation. A beautiful design means absolutely nothing if the horticultural foundation is flawed. Right in front of me is a massive, beautifully weathered Italian terracotta pot. Rule number 1 of any perfect container is drainage. Plants, my friends, do not like to sit in a bathtub. If their delicate roots are submerged in stagnant water, they will develop root rot, caused by fungal pathogens. We must give the water a way to escape. I'm holding a curved piece of broken terracotta, a potsherd. I'm just going to place it loosely over the large drainage hole at the bottom. A very common myth is that you should fill the bottom of your pot with gravel to improve drainage, but science gently tells us otherwise. Water doesn't move easily from a fine textured material like potting soil into a coarse material like gravel. It creates what we call a perched water table, keeping soggy soil right against your plant's roots. Skip the gravel. Let's talk about soil. I'm plunging my hands into this bag of premium potting mix, lifting a double handful. Look at how the golden light catches the little white specks of perlite and the soft, fibrous strands of sphagnum peat moss. It feels so light, airy, and rich. Never, ever use garden topsoil in a pot. Garden soil is heavy and full of clay. In the confines of a container, it will compact into a solid brick, completely suffocating your plants. You always want a soilless potting mix. An ideal container mix needs 3 things: aeration from perlite or pumice, so oxygen can reach the roots; moisture retention from peat moss or coconut coir to hold water like a sponge; and nutrient holding capacity. Every time you water a pot, nutrients wash out the bottom. So, as I fill our beautiful terracotta pot slightly more than half full, I'm mixing in a handful of slow-release granular fertilizer. This ensures our plants are gently and continuously fed all season long. Now the magic begins. Step 1. The thriller. The thriller is the architectural backbone of your container. It is the star of the show, your focal point. By design, it should be the tallest plant in the arrangement, boasting a striking form, bold colours, or dramatic upright foliage. The thriller dictates the entire scale of your composition. A good rule of thumb is that the thriller should be at least as tall as the container itself, maintaining a beautiful visual proportion. The thriller always goes in first. If your pot is going to be viewed from all sides, like sitting proudly in the centre of a patio, the thriller goes dead in the middle. If your pot is going to be pushed up against a wall or a railing, place your thriller towards the back. For our design today, I have chosen something truly spectacular: a magnificent purple fountain grass. Let me bring it into the light so you can see it properly. Look closely at these deep burgundy blades of grass. When the late afternoon sun shines right through them, they turn into ribbons of glowing magenta fire. And at the top, these soft, fuzzy, bottle-brush-like flower plumes nod so gently in the breeze. As the wind blows, this grass will bring movement to our container, bringing the entire arrangement to life. I'm gently squeezing the plastic nursery pot to slide the grass out. Now look at these roots. When you buy plants from the nursery, they are often root-bound. See how these tight white roots are circling the shape of the pot. If we plant it just like this, the roots will keep growing in that circle until they strangle the plant. We have to be a little brave and tease them apart. I'm just using my thumbs to gently rough up the bottom of the root ball, breaking its memory of the plastic pot. There. Now it goes firmly into the centre of our terracotta. There are so many wonderful thrillers you can choose from. If you have a shady porch, try caladiums with their massive, paper-thin, hot pink leaves, or a beautiful fuchsia trained into a tree form. If you live in a tropical, sweltering climate, canna lilies are magnificent, towering up with paddle-shaped leaves. But right now, our purple fountain grass is standing alone in the centre of the pot. It looks top-heavy, doesn't it? Like a flagpole without a base. It needs company. A thriller by itself is a little lonely. That brings us to step 2. The filler. Fillers are your mounding, billowing, bushy plants. Their job is to lovingly bridge the visual gap between the tall, dramatic thriller and the hard rim of the pot. They hide the bare, lower stems of the grass and create a lush mass of colour and texture. But there is a very important botanical rule we must follow here. Our fillers must have the exact same environmental needs as our thriller. Never mix shade-loving ferns with sun-loving succulents. They might look adorable together for a week, but one of them will inevitably suffer and fade away. Our purple fountain grass loves the hot sun and needs moderate watering, so our fillers must love those exact same conditions. To create a really professional look, master gardeners rely on contrasting textures and a little bit of colour theory. So, I've brought over 2 very different plants to act as our fillers today. Here, in my left hand, is a campfire Coleus. Feel how velvety the serrated leaves are. The colour is a scorching, vivid copper orange. And in my right hand, I have a trailing lantana, completely covered in tiny spherical clusters of yellow and pink microblooms. Because our grass is a deep, cool burgundy, I wanted to use the colour wheel to make it pop. Orange and yellow are complementary to purple. These colours together are going to look incredibly warm and inviting. I am going to plant these fillers in a ring right around the base of our grass. The Coleus gives us large, broad leaves, mass and volume. The Lantana gives us delicate, tiny flowers, fine texture. That contrast is what keeps a container interesting. If you use plants that all have the exact same leaf shape, the arrangement can feel a bit flat. We want variety. I'm slipping the Coleus out of its pot, gently roughing up the roots just like before, and nestling it into the rich soil. Notice how I'm angling the Coleus slightly outward toward the rim of the pot. This is a little nursery trick. By angling your fillers, you encourage them to grow outward and fill out the container much faster. It gives you that wonderfully lush, abundant look in a fraction of the time. If you were planting a shade container, your fillers might be elegant impatiens, ruffled begonias, or the stunning foliage of coral bells. But here in the sun, our Coleus and Lantana are perfect. Let's step back and look. The container is already looking incredibly lush. The grass shoots up like a fountain of dark wine, and the Coleus and Lantana are creating a dense, vibrant cloud of copper and gold around the base. It's undeniably beautiful. But it still feels a little contained, doesn't it? It feels slightly stiff, stopping abruptly at the edge of the terracotta. To make it look truly professional, we have to break that hard boundary. We have to anchor it to the earth. Step 3. The spiller. Spillers are your trailing, vining, or cascading plants. Out in the garden, their botanical habit is to creep along the ground. But when we place them at the edge of a container, gravity takes over. They tumble and cascade down the sides of the pot, softening those harsh edges, beautifully blending the container into its surroundings. They draw the human eye gently downward, completing the visual journey from the tip of the grass to the ground below. I have 2 final plants waiting for us. This first one is a sweet potato vine. The leaves are a shocking neon chartreuse green. Against the dark canvas of my apron, they absolutely glow. Beside it, I have a Dichondra, beautifully named Silver Falls. Its cascading stems look like literal streams of liquid mercury. The texture is so soft and cool to the touch. These are going to be our glorious spillers. Spillers belong at the very edge of the pot. I'm taking my narrow trowel and carving out a small, cosy pocket of soil right against the terracotta rim. I'll take the sweet potato vine, tease its roots, and gently slide it in. The bright chartreuse of this vine is going to make the burgundy of our grass look even richer. On the opposite side, I'll nestle in the silver Dichondra, letting its long, delicate stems immediately drape over the edge. It adds such a beautiful touch of elegance. From a gardening perspective, spillers are often incredibly vigorous. Here is a crucial tip. Sweet potato vine grows extremely fast. In the heat of midsummer, it might try to take over the pot and choke out your delicate fillers. Please, don't be afraid to give your spillers a haircut. Taking your pruners and snipping them back actually encourages them to branch out and become thicker rather than just growing a single long, stringy stem. Don't be timid. Plants love a good trim. Other amazing spillers you might try are Creeping Jenny for a neon yellow pop in the shade, or classic English ivy. In the sun, trailing verbena or nasturtiums are lovely, and nasturtiums even give you bright, edible flowers that taste a bit like peppery radishes. Now, With all of our plants expertly nestled into the pot, I'm stepping back to admire our work. It is a masterpiece. But as any horticulturist will tell you, the planting is only about 10% of the work. Let me grab my galvanized steel watering can. Listen to the sound of the water cascading out. As the water droplets strike the dry potting mix, you can see the soil turn instantly into a rich, dark espresso colour. It smells earthy and clean. The water pools just slightly on the surface and then perfectly percolates down into our soil matrix. Watering is the true make-or-break factor in container gardening. Containers dry out much faster than plants growing freely in the ground. Because their roots are entirely above ground, they are exposed to the ambient air temperature from all sides. In the peak of July, a pot this size sitting in full sun will likely need to be watered every single day. But please, do not rely on a strict watering schedule. You must rely on the soil. I want to teach you the finger test, which is the best tool a gardener has. Plunge your index finger directly into the dirt, right up to your second knuckle. If the soil feels dry down there, it's time to water. If it feels damp or cool against your skin, walk away. Put the watering can down. Overwatering kills just as many container plants as underwatering does. When you do decide to water, make sure you water deeply. You want to see water running out of that drainage hole at the bottom. This ensures the entire root ball is saturated and flushes out any salt buildup. To keep this container looking as pristine as it does today, we need to talk about maintenance. Specifically, deadheading. Plants are biologically programmed to do one thing: reproduce. When a beautiful flower blooms, its ultimate goal is to go to seed. Once it successfully produces seed, the plant thinks its job is done for the year, and it stops blooming. To trick the plant into blooming all summer long, you must remove the dead flowers before those seeds can form. Let me show you. I'm reaching into the lantana here, and I'm just lightly pinching off this faded papery bloom cluster with my thumb and forefinger. It snaps right off. By pinching off the spent blooms, you redirect the plant's energy away from seed production. Instead, it pushes that energy back into creating fresh new foliage and a continuous display of bright, vibrant flowers. It's a peaceful little garden chore you can do while enjoying your morning coffee. While the container we just built is a high summer showstopper, the thrill, fill, spill formula is incredibly versatile. It's a framework you can use 365 days a year. Imagine early spring, when the air is still crisp and summer annuals would freeze. You could use tall architectural daffodils or standing tulips as your thriller. Cold hardy pansies in rich purples as your filler. And variegated English ivy as your spiller. A combination like that brings such joy after a long grey winter. Or think about the crisp days of autumn. The foliage turns to deep russets and crimsons. You could plant a towering aster as your thriller. Garden mums and thick, waxy, ornamental cabbage as your fillers, providing incredible mass. Trailing heuchera could act as your spiller. Even in the dead of winter, when the ground freezes solid, your pots don't have to sit empty. Winter containers rely on structure rather than active growth, and they are incredibly elegant. For a winter pot, you might use cut branches of red twig dogwood as a dramatic thriller. Foraged pine boughs and oversized pine cones make wonderful textural fillers. And trailing wintergreen, with its bright red berries, makes a perfect festive spiller. The formula remains exactly the same, only the ingredients change with the seasons. It gives you a reliable map to follow, no matter what time of year you are planting. Now, because gardening is a living, breathing partnership with nature, things don't always go perfectly. What happens if your thriller outgrows your pot? It happens to the best of us. If you use an aggressive tropical plant, by August, it might look like it's going to tip the entire pot over. If it gets too big, you can selectively prune out the largest, oldest leaves at the base to reduce its visual mass. Or, just bite the bullet, transplant it to the yard, and put something smaller in. We also have to watch out for the bully effect. Combining plants in a confined space creates a miniature battleground for nutrients and water. Sweet potato vines are notorious bullies. They have aggressive root systems that will easily outcompete delicate fillers. When you group plants, try to group plants of equal vigor. If you use a highly aggressive spiller, match it with an equally robust thriller and filler, so they can hold their own against each other. The container material itself also plays a huge role. I absolutely love this massive terracotta pot. Terracotta is porous. It breathes. This is wonderful for plant roots because it allows air exchange, but it means the soil will dry out incredibly fast. If you live in a hot, arid climate, a porous pot might mean you are watering twice a day. Glazed ceramic or polyurethane pots are non-porous and trap moisture inside. Always match your container material to your lifestyle and climate. The golden hour has reached its absolute peak now. The sun is dipping just below the horizon, and it is casting this spectacular, warm, cinematic glow across the entire potting bench. Let's just take a moment to look at what we've created together. The burgundy-purple fountain grass is waving majestically in the evening breeze. The fiery Coleus and Lantana mound luxuriously around the base, and the silver Dichondra drips over the weathered rim like a living waterfall. Gardening is not magic, my friends. It is simply a beautiful combination of biology and art. When you look at a stunning container at a botanical garden or outside a fancy estate, you aren't looking at unachievable genius. You are just looking at someone who understands the rules of proportion and plant care. You are looking at thrill, fill, and spill in action. You have all the knowledge you need right now to recreate this feeling in your own space. The next time you go to the garden centre, please don't let those long rows of plants intimidate you. Take a deep breath, brush your hands on your apron, close your eyes for a second, and remember the formula. Find something tall to thrill, find something bushy to fill, and find something trailing to spill. Match their light and water needs, give them a good soil foundation, and you will create a masterpiece every single time. It really is that straightforward. The garden is getting quiet now. The bees have gone home, the crickets are just starting their evening song, and the air smells like wet soil and green leaves. It is the best time of day. I am so glad you joined me here at the potting bench. Working with soil and plants is such a deeply grounding experience, and sharing it makes it even better. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, to make mistakes, and to try new combinations. Every season is a new canvas. I'd love to hear about what you're planting this season. What beautiful things are growing in your garden right now? Leave a note in the comments below so we can share in the joy of each other's spaces. If you enjoyed our quiet time together today, please consider subscribing for more cozy garden chats. I can't wait to see what you create with this formula. Until next time, Take care of yourselves, enjoy the evening air, and happy growing.